Okay, I think we are live, and not the first time, and definitely not the last time that we are witnessing another low-scoring thriller in New York. And kudos to both Bangladesh and South Africa for putting on a fight. And I would rather say that Bangladesh did make sure that it wasn't really a one-sided match, despite them restricting South Africa to a total that was just short of, I think, 5 runs short of what India had scored against Pakistan. But then, the way I would rather say that Bangladesh are pretty much used to playing on these pitches, and they would have probably felt like home in New York. But then I think South Africa have sealed their third consecutive win and have become the first team to qualify for the Super 8. What a match once
I
again.
have a question for you guys before we, get into the nitty gritties of the game. Did Pakistan try harder to lose yesterday, or did Bangladesh try harder today?
I would rather
I
say
would say
that
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh tried, they really tried to win it, I would say, because Bangladesh, when Tawhid Hridoy and Mohammedullah were going at one stage, it really felt like they would get over the line. Because one of the best things that I liked about Bangladesh's middle order's approach was that they were targeting Keshav Maharaj. I still remember the two sixes that Tawhid Hridoy hit off Keshav Maharaj. One was down the ground and another one was over deep mid wicket. And that's where I thought that, okay, there was some kind of intent that being shown that they want to target the spinner, because they knew that the conditions are pretty much conducive for the pace bowlers. And that's where I think Bangladesh knew that if they do not target the spinner, then it might just get difficult for them. And that's what prompted Aiden Markram to keep Keshav Maharaj for the last over. Because that's why, if the total had been, say, maybe around 15 or 20 overs for the last over, then it would have been very difficult for Bangladesh. But then South Africa Pacers did well. But towards the end, also, Bangladesh made sure they ran hard between the wickets. And I think we witnessed another thriller.
Shane, the answer for you?
So I think with Bangladesh, I mean, to be fair, if you're looking at a little bit of a parallel, uh,
You your answer is much the same. Bangladesh tried winning Pakistan. I think what Gulati meant was that Pakistan
yeah,
actually tried losing the
Yes,
match,
yes.
not Bangladesh.
I have a different, slightly different thing. I think with Pakistan, their bowlers kept them in the game. I
Hmm.
think in today's case, Bangladesh can blame their bowlers a little bit for letting the game get away. Because if you were 20 odd for four, was from there, them making 120 nearly was pretty much a par total. And in fact, more than a par total, as we've seen that, this is a pitch that is not at all conducive to any kind of proper stroke making. So I think at that point, the target for them should have been to do what South Africa did to Sri Lanka. So get them out for about like under 80 or 90 type of. Because again, you have
Yeah,
four down at that point in time.
77. Yeah.
And after that, you kind of let the game get away from you a little bit. And I'm not saying that Bangladesh's batters didn't try; they did their best. But I think South Africa had the quality in the end, and of course, I think them having less spinners was working out well because really, with only Keshav there as the proper spinner, they could pretty much, let's say, ensure that their pacers bowl out and then save Keshav for the death, which seems like a surprising move if you haven't watched the match. But if you were watching, you know that the spinners they were trying to take them on, and the pitch was just much better for pace bowling. So smart tactic in that sense by Markram.
Yeah. Well, you too, because I still happen to be here, and we quick with the dear folks here, who are working extremely hard in the background. Some of whom you probably see as well. We were all recalling 2016 when Mehmadullah was again the man. It was T20 World Cup. He again went for the big shot. Back then, it was deemed as an unnecessary glory shot. Today was perhaps the need of the hour as well. Both times, by the way, he got looseners. It was a loosener from Hardik Pandya back then. This time around as well, a full toss, a low full toss that he went for. What is it with Mehmadullah that he's not able to clear the rope exactly when you need him to?
I think it was a dolly that he really had to make the most of it, but unfortunately that could not happen. I think he did get the elevation, but couldn't really get the timing. Probably came off the toe end. But then I think these things happen in pressure situations. Had that connected, the conversation would have been completely different between the three of us, and obviously the fans who are tuning in. But then I think he did it for Bangladesh in their previous game against Sri Lanka. Just fell short against South Africa. So yeah, these things happen.
Yeah. Did you have the 2016 visuals playing in your mind, Shane?
Oh yeah, absolutely. With Mahmudullah, I mean, it's hard to miss because again, and that was in fact a much more one situation if you're comparing 2016. I mean, I think they hit what one or two sixes, and you needed the equation was practically run a ball from there to throw it away. This at least you can still say was a much tougher situation. Okay, not exactly a conducive pitch for anything. And to be fair, I think South Africa had done as well as they possibly could have in the circumstances. But yeah, Mehmetullah, you thought, I think after the last game, a lot of us were saying that, he got some redemption when he ensured that Bangladesh could beat Sri Lanka. This time around, once again, it was simply a case of Mehmetullah being the man who pretty much ended whatever hopes Bangladesh had at that point in time.
Yeah. I think we've spent decent time talking about Bangladesh and a couple of their batters. What about South Africa though? We've seen it a couple of times now with them that they've been living very dangerously. They've come out of situations no team going to the Super 8s would want to see themselves in against Netherlands as well. You lost your top order for a score less than 50 today as well. Much the same. In fact, a bigger recovery today made by South Africa than we saw them make against the Dutch the other day. Worrying signs. What's really going wrong for them? Is this something that was perhaps the writing on the wall because they went in with a couple of players who didn't show the best of form? We had them here in the IPL and talking about Aiden Markram, who was good to begin with, but tapered after that. Quinton de Kock woefully bad throughout the course of the IPL. Perhaps this is the time if they are to re-strategize, think of a new opening pair. They do have options. Maybe this is the time to try and redo the top four because Riza Hendricks as well hasn't been in the best of forms. Same with Quinton de Kock, and yes, it's been a partnership that bailed you out on both the occasions. Today as well, you saw a good partnership. The other day too, it was a good partnership. I think it was the fourth or the fifth wicket partnership. I think it was
Yes.
that saved the day for them. But can't be happening, especially when you become the first team to qualify for the Super Eights.
So I won't read too much into the kind of performances you're seeing here, quite frankly, because I think these are T20 conditions unlike anyone has ever encountered for a long time. I think if you go from the first T20 World Cup 2007, you're nearly 20 odd years through to that point in time. I don't recall a World Cup where you've had tougher conditions, and that's saying something because you've seen countries like Sri Lanka and West Indies also
To-
host
Today
T20
though,
World Cup.
today, I'm sorry to butt in, Shane. Today, what about the
Yeah,
pitch
yeah.
today though? It seemed better. It seemed better if you
Hmm.
ask me. I will actually hold the South African batters guilty of the number of occasions on which they missed the line. They missed the line
Well,
a
what's
few
new?
times. You see how far off the bat was from the ball. If there was an LBW, the only good dismissal I would say, let's say from a Bangladesh standpoint, was I think that of Riza Hendricks. That's when the bowler got the better of the batter. But otherwise, Aiden Markram completely missing the line. Couple of other batters is completely going for a shot that was not on.
No, I think now what's you're starting to see with these kind of pitches because they're a little bit of a lottery. I think players are just going for it. It's a lot like the shot that Rizwan played against Bumrah. It wasn't on at all, but he went for a flat batter at a time when perhaps trying to get a single or a double would have been the better
We
case. So
we saw De Kock make the same mistake today.
exactly the same error. And he was hitting the ball so well. And I'm like, okay, how the hell did he manage to get that? Because he was striking it well. First over, he got a couple of boundaries. There was a six and a four. They were thinking, okay, maybe this is finally the day Quentin de Kock comes to the party. But no, false alarm once again.
So that's
Absolutely.
your
I think,
thoughts.
yeah, I think with South Africa, with top order, obviously it's a worrying sign, and obviously the form of Aiden Markram, he would really like to make sure that he gets some runs against Nepal before the all-important Super 8 stage. But then I think it would be the right time to probably try Ryan Rickleton ahead of the Super 8 if you want.
Yeah.
Quinton de Kock is obviously an established
He,
player. You would want him, you would basically expect out of him that he'll step up to the plate when, there is a dire need. So I would still persist with him and back him to, come good. Plus, I think Quinton de Kock really has nothing to lose. It's probably his last international assignment for South Africa. So when you are in that kind of a mindset, when you know that this is going to be your last outing, you can play freely, and I think his best is really yet to come. I really have a gut feeling about it. For I think Ryan Rickleton, it's the case of having some kind of freshness in the top order because I'm a big believer in the saying that freshness does more good than harm. So that's where I think you can bring him. You can basically try him against Nepal, and if he succeeds, then going into the Super 8, I think South Africa would take a few boxes, not just from the bowling perspective, but from the batting perspective too. So I think yeah, that's pretty good. But maybe South Africa, tried five bowlers today. That's been the case with them in
Five.
the previous two games also. Aiden Markram is actually their designated sixth bowler who hasn't been required as of
So
now.
they are,
But
by
then
the way, they are interestingly they are one of the few teams that are okay going in with just five bowlers.
yeah, yeah. And this is where I feel that the way Keshav Maharaj went for runs in the first couple of overs, but luckily he came back and saved the day, not just for him, but for the Proteas. I think South Africa would want to think of probably including an extra bowler, maybe Bojan Fortin, who is, I think, a slow left arm orthodox bowler, if I'm not wrong. So he could be a good option for them. They might just have to, juggle with a combination a bit, but then. It's always good to have more bowling options because you never know. On one fine day, your one of the premier bowlers can get a hit. Something that we were discussing in one of our live in the dugout today also. So yeah, I think it's always good to have more options. And South Africa might just want to try Rickleton for the next game.
I mean, the problem with South Africa though is that they're very much like India. They've got a lot of top order batters who don't bowl, with the exception of Markram, who will bowl you a
Markram.
couple of overs on a good day. Yeah, with the exception of him, there's really no one who bowls. I'm not counting Klaasen because I remember he had that one ball also. Remember in the ODI World Cup warm-up game, which ended up going viral because it was so bad it actually ended up being a no ball. So because he bowled it and it didn't land on the pitch. So they really don't
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah, yeah,
any
yeah.
sort of, you remember it? Yeah. They don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
any
yeah.
sort of batter who can
I think he
roll
was
their
bowling it
arm
to one of the
over and
left-handers, right? He was bowling it to one of the
yes,
left-handers, and
yes,
it
yes.
pitched way off. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one. And I don't think that there's anything they can do in that regard because they're a bit like India in that sense that there's not a lot of all-round options. And if they have to, as Siddharth is pointing out, that you may go the way of a beyond fortune. But again, then you may have a case of if you're playing, you're dropping Keshav Mara, who's probably your best spinner, or you are going to play two left-arm orthodox, that would be a risk, especially if the opposition then decides that okay, we'll send out two left-handers. But good luck now. You aren't bowling your left-arm orthodox spinners. So actually, that's a bit of a problem. I think their team balance is okay for now. Why? Because their sixth bowler is a spinner in Markram who will not be required to bowl more than two overs. The thing is that they're not using him right now because I don't think conditions dictate using him right now.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
much very pace friendly, and they have four seamers,
Because
including
I remember when we were trying to make the 11 for South Africa, Markram was obviously there, but Marco Jansen wasn't
we
always
had
being
to fit him
included.
in. Yeah, because there's no other all
Yes,
rounder
but
they
now
have.
conditions are such that he becomes somebody who you have to be including because it's bowlers like him on surfaces like these who become the X factor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think for South Africa, I mean, they'd be happy with the way things have gone. I mean, three games, three wins, first team to qualify for the Super Eights. Dare I say, by the way, a lot of people were talking about South Africa being one of those teams who could cause an upset, and they've won three out of three guaranteed qualification. They're looking very unlike South Africa. I know there've been a few touchy moments, but we can also put that down to the conditions. And I mean, if they keep playing like this, I don't know. You could finally be saying what would be Isala Kapnamde in Afrikaans? Whatever that is, we'd probably be saying that.
I'm not really a big fan of the trend that has been like set in the past few years of people sharing their thoughts with the tagline "unpopular opinion." But I'm going to give one today
Hmm.
because I feel it's the right stage to give it. I'm starting to like these low-scoring thrillers in the T20 World Cup. This is my unpopular opinion.
No, I kind of get your point because I reached a point in the IPL where watching 250 felt like nothing. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
they scored 250 again. Oh, they scored 200 again. Oh, they scored 220 again. Oh, RCB almost chased down 228 against KKR. No, kind of done with that. Please give me a few more low scoring figures. Although this has gone to the other end of the extreme, I'd still be okay with like a 140, 150, but I'll take this also. I'm okay with this. Bit of a palate cleanser, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm not particularly happy with what I'm seeing right now. I'm all for seeing good bowling performances, but let's be honest, this is skewed. What you're seeing is uneven competition, and that's exactly the problem that you have in those flat tracks that you decided to make out of an Eden Gardens at the Chepauk to begin with. Bangalore, we all know the story. Delhi also at,
Chinnaswamy,
exactly.
Uppal, all of them.
You talk about because the debate around cricket and T20 cricket for that matter always is about how the contest has to be made more even, more and more competitive. This has gone from one end of the spectrum to the other because you've tried to empower the bowlers with bringing in this drop in pitch which has its own element of unpredictability. Nobody has ever been able to tell the true nature of a drop in pitch, be it the ones that you see in New Zealand, or for the one matter for that matter in Adelaide. So the idea was to bring in that sense of unpredictability. Now, of course, it's become predictable enough for you to predict that it is going to be unpredictable. The unpredictability has become the predictable at the moment, which is actually not a good thing, because you know that unpredictable is only favoring the bowlers. It's not favoring the batters anymore. Today as well, you saw, while it felt that conditions had bettered from what we saw yesterday, but even then the bounce was low. Let's admit it. The ball
Yes.
kept low in that Rizwan wicket we saw yesterday. The ball kept low
Yeah.
today as well on a couple of occasions. Hendrik Klaassen, I think he sort of uh, targeted the right delivery. Unfortunately, it didn't have enough bounce in it.
I think in the words of
Absolutely, I think
Shane,
you're right.
what Shane has
Yeah, you
said
go
that,
to that.
yeah, in the words of Shane only, it's a lottery for the bowlers or the batters. Even if for the batters, if they get to a good, make a useful contribution, for bowler if you produce a magical delivery. I was reading one of the statements of Jasprit Bumrah also after the Pakistan match. He said, and he specifically said that he wasn't really looking for that magical delivery to turn the game around. It just happened.
Interestingly, you look at that spell of Jasprit Bumrah yesterday. The man didn't try any Yorkers. It's his
Yes,
it, it's his go-to delivery. It's in a match like that, you need him to be bowling those that's what you think that the plan would be. Jasprit, please bowl those Yorkers, because the Yorker almost guarantees you a wicket. But he didn't turn to the Yorker. The one time that he probably went for it was ended up being a full toss. That too ended up resulting in a wicket. But that's the genius of a Jasprit Bumrah. He realized that more than that, if you you pitch the ball fullish, if you get it in the area, the hard length area, if you are able to pitch it there, then you're actually able to surprise the batter a little more. And that's what you
exactly.
saw from the Indian speedster yesterday.
I mean, it reminds me a little bit of the India Ireland game, and I remember I was baffled by the Irish bowlers' tactics because they were targeting the batters with short balls. And I kept thinking, why
Yes.
are you trying to bowl short balls
Exactly.
when on this ground you should
Short
probably be
balls which
bowling it on
weren't
a
even
good length or
timed
back
that
of a
well.
net? Exactly. Rohit was able to effortlessly smack them. I'm thinking, why? Bowl it back of a length and then let the pitch do some magic. That was the best thing. And that's what Bumrah was trying to do. That wicket of Rizwan was very much on just back of a length and it stayed low. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so there was any other thoughts as far as what we saw right now in New York?
Oh, long may the thrillers continue, but I will say that, I'm waiting for the West Indies leg because at least there you'll see a little truer conditions. When I say truer, I don't necessarily mean batting friendly, but you might see spin friendly and like properly, at least more consistent wickets. These are a little bit on the lottery side.
Yeah, and
Yes,
I think
indeed they
what's
are.
happened with the South Africa's win here is that the group of death which we were talking about at the beginning of the tournament, I think one spot is pretty much sealed with South Africa all but qualifying for the Super 8, and I think it's probably going to go down to the wire now, because now even Sri Lanka also stand a chance, although their net run rate has taken a hit. But then
Mm.
what's it basically made sure is that all the three teams here. Nepal have only played just one match, but they lost to Netherlands. Then you have Sri Lanka also, who have two matches remaining. Then Bangladesh, they got off to a win, got off to the marker with a win against Sri Lanka. Then they lost here. So I think it's still pretty much open. But South Africa
Mm.
have like pretty much sealed their place, and I think exciting times ahead for them.
Now it's just
Uh,
one more spot you're fighting for in this group, simple as.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Bangladesh had the opportunity of making things interesting, but they didn't
They
take
didn't
it.
take it.
The
Yeah.
opportunity went begging. Let's just quickly take a couple of comments before we wrap this chat. Ashish Dhar says that sand-based outfield is a bigger culprit than the pitch. So slow, batsmen are prompted to go for sixes, increasing their chances of getting out. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I mean, it's again, as we said, the outfield conditions, the pitch, nothing has been ideal as far as Nassau County. So, I mean, you can't really help it at this point. You're kind of living with it. Just have to make the best of what you have.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
We have a
Let's.
super chat also from Dhairya.
Okay.
I'm
He
not.
says
I'm not
that
able to. I'm not able to see the comments actually. Don't
That's
click
know.
on
fine.
the comments thing. He
Okay.
says, Dhairya says that if the four buys were given, maybe Bangladesh could have actually made things interesting today. I mean, yeah, good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I can see now. Yeah, actually, I think that was the. I think the decision that Bangladesh reviewed. It was of Mohammedullah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Manju is asking what the qualification scenario for England, as far as the
Yeah,
Super 8s are concerned, is looking like.
I'll, I'll get to that. Yeah, I'll get to that. So basically, with
We can
England,
actually
the
do a
thing is
separate
that.
video on that tomorrow also. But yeah, carry
Yeah,
on, Sudha.
yeah. I'll just give it in a brief that Australia basically in England's group, Australia is the team that's hot favorite to seal one of the spots. They have won two out of two. They have two more games remaining, and with England, the thing is that the abandoned clash against South Africa and the loss to Australia that they suffered, that's really put them in a tricky situation.
You mean
And
Scotland. You mean Scotland, not South Africa.
yeah, yeah, to Scotland. Sorry, beg your pardon. But the good thing for Scotland is that they have won two of their three games with a one rained off game against England. So for the I think first time in so many years, Scotland's fate is actually in their own hands. If they win against Australia, they'll qualify for the Super 8, which will mean that England will more than likely be knocked out of the competition. So that's where I
Correct.
think for England, I think they just have to hope that Scotland lose their remaining match against Australia and England defeat Namibia and Oman comprehensively so as to
Correct.
overcome Scotland's net run rate.
Mm. And Priyanshu was pointing out that, this is why when we were having that debate earlier today, of which game of India's was better, which, whether it be MCG or New York. He said that, this is why I rated MCG higher because here pretty much every team is struggling to even get to 120. So, I mean, I take it. It's a fair point.
true. And Priyanshu says, and probably that'll be my cue to leave this chat as well and ask you to get to bed as well. He says, Harshad bhai, ghar
Yeah.
jao, vegetables khao, mummy ko pareshan mat karna. So I'll take that as a cue to say good night to my two
Yeah. Good night,
media
guys.
colleagues who've joined me from home in dissecting this match and analyzing this match. In case you're joining us right now, we looked at what we saw in New York again, a low scoring thriller. And this, by the way, happens to be now the lowest successfully defended total in T20 World Cup history. The one that you saw
Mm.
yesterday now happens to be locked second in second place. There are two scores exactly that were defended. So there's a lock over there. Two teams split over there. But this now what we saw today happens to be the lowest defended total in T20 Cricket
It's a bit
World
like a
Cup.
reverse IPL, Remember, you're getting 277, 287. Now you're getting lowest defended. It's the reverse IPL.
Exactly. Remember that one week in
Yes,
which SRH rewrote the history books a couple of times? It's happened the
yes.
same,
Mm,
let's say, in the last 24.
in reverse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. On that note, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Shane Dias, my dear colleague, as well as Siddharth Gulati. Thank you, guys, for joining as well on this stream. And we here at Sports Day will continue to bring you the very best of not just the Cricket World Cup, but everything happening outside the realm of cricket as well. Tap that bell in case you want to know every time we go live and subscribe to the network to be watching all the videos and all the content that we do produce for you day in, day out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.